written by our previous acharyas, and it's very important to set the mood so that we can grasp what we are going to learn today. Okay? So as I'm singing, once I sing, you can actually follow me. It's very nice to recite the kirtan written by the previous acharyas. Yeah. Thank you so much. जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यशोदानंदन व्रज रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यशोदानंदन व्रज रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यशोदानंदन व्रज रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे So again, welcome again for the second session of Gita course. Right? I was so happy to see so many people gathered for the first time, and I believe we are expecting some more people to join us. Right? So before we start the session, we would like to chant some prayers before we begin. Because before we do anything auspicious, it's nice to remember our Guru, and it's nice to remember the Lord and begin anything. So please chant after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. So again, we are joined here. We have come along to actually listen to and hear about Bhagavad Gita, the divine song of God. We know the meaning of Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhagavad is derived from the name Bhagavan, right? And Gita is derived from the name. Gita means the song, yeah, song of God. So we dedicate the entire session in the presentation to ISKCON founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, like we mentioned, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and the Vedic teachings are actually confined within the boundaries of India. It's only because of this particular personality that people know about Bhagavad Gita, people know about Krishna, people know about the mantra, Mahamantra, that is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And it was only because of this particular personality. At the age of 70, right, when we can't even imagine of getting up from the bed, I'm not sure how we are going to reach the bathroom also, this personality traveled in a cargo ship. And he had 2 heart attacks while he was traveling to USA. He went there and he preached the message of Bhagavad Gita to the people of America. Right? And at that point of time, the people that he preached to were hippies. They were in a very abominable state. Always drunk, always intoxicated and totally into drugs. And he preached to them. Right? And they took the message of Bhagavad Gita very seriously. They started implementing the message of Bhagavad Gita and it completely transformed their life. Now these are the people who left everything and started understanding what Bhagavad Gita is all about and completely transformed their life. And it's only because of him. Now if you see a certain foreigner wearing a dhoti and kurta and wearing tilak, it is only because of Srila Prabhupada's teaching to inculcate the Vedic principles, inculcate the Vedic teachings. Right? So today's topic is very important. We are exploring the inner self. Right? Last time we learned about certain. Can anyone tell me what did we learn last time? Recall anything? Happiness. Yes, we spoke about happiness. We also spoke about certain needs. Does anyone remember those needs? Physical needs, emotional needs, psychological needs, and last one, spiritual needs. Very good. So today, we are going to explore the inner self. Now, I'll give an analogy, okay? Now, for instance, tomorrow I'm going to maybe Bombay, Mumbai, right? And we know each other for 2 sessions for now. So maybe I have 1 lakh rupees of cash with me. What I'm going to do is, I don't want to carry it to Mumbai, so I hand it over to one person here. I tell him to take care of it. When I return, you have to give it back to me. Okay? So, alright, he says. And I go to Mumbai, I visit Mumbai, I come back. I ask the person my money, and he happily hands it over back to me. Because rightfully it is mine, so he hands it over. I'll give you another scenario. Now, this particular person won a lottery, right? He won a lottery of 1 lakh rupees, and he kept it in his safe in his house. Now, at that night, the money gets stolen, right? So, what will happen to this person? How will his reaction be? Will it be the same like how it was before? Why? What changed? What changed? Ownership. Sense of ownership. Right? The first one, he took care of it like a caretaker. Right? He knows that it's not his money, it's my money. So when I asked him back my money, he returned it back. There was no issue. Second time, he won a lottery. There is a sense of ownership. That it is mine. And there will be a certain kind of pain involved when it is stolen, right? So, it's the same thing because that leads to attachment, right? So there was a certain kind of attachment to that particular money because he won the lottery and it's rightfully his. Now, in Bhagavad Gita also, when there was the Mahabharata war, the Kurukshetra war, and everything was destined that everything was set for the war. The Kauravas were on the one side, the Pandavas were on the one side. And Arjuna asked Krishna to actually take me in the center of the army, of both the armies. And he wants to see who all have gathered to fight. Right? And when he does that, he sees all his cousins, he sees his uncle, he sees his grandfather, and he's taken aback. Right? He's telling Krishna, how can I kill these people? Right? They are my cousins, they are my relatives, they are my grandfathers. How can I wage a war against them? So Krishna also thinks, "Arey, abhi tere ko pata chala?" When we all said, when everyone is gathered, abhi tere ko pata chala you are fighting your brothers, your grandfather, right? Even the conch shells have been blown. So during those times when conch shells were blown, it means that we are ready for a war, right? And all the major personalities had blown the conch shells, and that's when Arjuna had this certain kind of attachment that came up when he was, that dilemma that came up when he was actually going to wage the war. Now that's when actually Krishna starts instructing. So the Krishna's instructions, if you see the first chapter, is completely Arjuna's dilemma, the fix that he is in when he actually sees his entire cousins, and he starts posing questions to Krishna. So the entire first chapter is about questioning, right? Arjuna has so many questions to Krishna, and second chapter is where Krishna starts answering the questions, right? So the attachment was the main reason why Arjuna was in such a state, and Krishna starts to talk about how to deal with attachment. Now how does he do that? Now Krishna makes him understand what is temporary, right? And acting on the platform of permanence, right? So here Krishna will give us a deep understanding as to why there is attachment, right? And attachment to temporary, and what ideally attachment should be for, right? So let me ask you something. Is attachment wrong? No. Why is it not wrong? You are right. Attachment is not wrong. See, without attachment we can't succeed in anything, right? Even in your corporate life, Say for instance, my boss actually gives me a project to handle and I don't do anything about it. And when he asks me, why you didn't do anything about the project? I'm detached. Can I answer that way? No, I can't do that. Right? So any kind of success, anything to do with that, we need certain kind of attachment. That is required. Right? And as a human being, we can't live without attachment. Right? Attachment will be there. But Krishna says attachment to temporary things will cause suffering. So this has got a deep inner meaning. And we'll start dissecting this as we go through the presentation. Exploring the inner self. Now, I'll give you some analogies. Actually, we'll do a small activity. I'll tell you to point to a certain part of your body, right? And as I call out the names, you should point around to your part of the body, okay? Your right eye, your left eye, nose, mouth, right hand, right leg, belly, okay, your body, okay. Now I say yourself, okay. Right, it's a tricky question, right? When I asked you to point out a certain part of your body, you pointed it out. Your body, the entire thing. And yourself, some of us are thinking, what is yourself, right? So, this is, so another thing I want to talk about is this common sense, completely based on common sense and logical understanding, right? What happens when someone dies, right? When someone dies, and I call up that person, kya hua? Normally, what does that person, the other person on the phone, what does he say? He passed away, right? Passed away. In various languages also, if you take Hindi, wo chal base. Kannada, aur veer hodro. Right? So, what has gone away? Okay. Right. So, in parts of India, we have been taught about soul. So, some of us actually have some kind of knowledge that there is something beyond the body. Right? And everyone knows, but they don't act in that way, right? So even if when the body is there, for Michael's body is there. So what do we say once he is passed away? Shall we cremate the Michael's body? Shall we cremate Michael? Do we say that? Shall we cremate Michael? Only God. Okay? Shall we cremate the body? Where is the body? Has the body reached? This is how we address. See, actually, the identification completely goes off. Right? So it's only logical. You think there is something that is missing once the person passes away. So what is that missing thing? That is what we are going to learn today. And that is what Bhagavad Gita is going to teach us. See, even when we actually think about organ donation, right? There are so many people who actually donate their organs. They write something on the bill and they say, once I pass away, once I die, I want to donate my kidneys or liver or something of that sort. And the person passes away and the organs are donated. The organs are working. Otherwise, you can't donate, right? Organs need to work. But the person's body is not working. Why is that? Organs are working. He has donated the organs. Organs should be in working condition, otherwise donation doesn't happen, right? The donors won't take it. So, what happened? But the body is not there, but that person is dead. Now these are some of the things that we need to think. Now what I'll do is I'll give you some things in life that you can actually think, introspect on. right? To give you deeper insights as to what is soul and what is body. Now, Bhagavad Gita is very scientific and very practical. So why do we say that it's not something that we believe very blindly, right? Arjuna is not someone, Arjuna was a great warrior, was a great prince. He is not someone who will believe anything blindly. Everything has a logical reasoning. Everything is scientific, right? Even when it comes to the understanding of soul, body and soul, Krishna gives us such deep concepts, deep understanding in this from second chapter itself. Now we're going to dissect one of the most famous shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. You can recite after me. Dehinosmi yata dehe Kaumaram yauvanam jara Tata dehantara praptir Dhirastatra numuyate. Can someone read the translation, please?
As the body soul continuously passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not given by such a change.
Thank you, Mataji. This is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, 13th verse. Dekhinosmi yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir tiras tatranu muyate. So this has got 4 parts. This sloka has got 4 parts, right? When we talk about reading Bhagavad Gita, ideally I won't say to read, I would say to study, right? You should study it scrutinizingly, right? So that's when this is, we have got 4 parts in this sloka. So we'll dissect it. The first part we will dissect is Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara, right? And that means boyhood, from boyhood to youth to old age, right? So I'll give you a small activity, right? You can see these names, different personalities. Can you all name them one by one? Mother Teresa, A.R. Rahman, Einstein, Nelson Mandela, Roger Federer, Steve Jobs, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Queen Elizabeth. Right. It's a very famous personality. Something else? Now can you tell me who are these? The first row, can you tell me who that is? Who is it? Come on, you're not getting any marks or you're not getting a hike, no bonus, I don't declare out. First one is who?
Einstein.
Einstein, okay. Second one?
Second one is middle picture is Elizabeth.
So it's all the same person. So yeah, you tell me one person.
And the third one is Steve Jobs.
Third one is Steve Jobs. Okay, let's see. Einstein, first one. Queen Elizabeth. Roger Federer. Okay, we'll do another one. Now tell me. Nelson Mandela, okay. Mother Teresa and Barack Obama. Perfect. See, at times we have to let you win also, otherwise. But the point is, it is so difficult to actually, it's not very easy, right? Because from childhood, when we are born, and to the state that we are in, a lot has changed within our body itself. As per science, when a newborn is born, it's got 300 bones. So as he grows into an adult man or lady, it becomes 206. There's another thing which is very scientific, because I say Bhagavad Gita is very scientific. The reason being, so we are dissecting that particular shloka where Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara, right? The soul is passing through these stages, Krishna says. Why does he say that? In scientific, if you see the scientific reason also, our cells, right, it dies every 7 to 10 years. and it regenerates again. But we don't change our name, right? Every 7 or 10 years, do we change our name? No, Nam Samskar and all, we don't do that, right? Namkaran and all, once for life. But we are changing. We are getting a new body after every 7 or 10 years. But something remains same. Our identity remains same. Now what is that identity? Right? Okay. Another thing is that when I say, so we did that body exercise, I asked you to point out the body, my body, you pointed out. And yourself, there was a little confusion as to what. Similarly, this is my laptop. Right? This is something that I possess. So who is me? Same thing I did with my body also, right? I said my body, my hand, my right leg, my belly. I asked who is yourself. We had a confusion. So the same thing. This is my laptop. Something I possess. So who is the real me? Right? So this is one of the things. So Krishna says, so our soul is actually in the body itself, it's actually moving in different stages. Still we keep the identity. Boyhood, we are at a certain stage, youthhood, we are at a certain stage, and old age. But the soul is something that is constant. We don't change our identity. Our name doesn't change. I'm Sabarish, I remain Sabarish till the end of my life. Right? Now the next part of the shloka that we dissect is, now we got to know Kaumara, Yauvana and Jara. Right? Now the first one is Dehi knows me, Yata Dehe. So there are two words here, Dehi and Deha. So we'll try and understand what is Dehi and what is Deha. So we know soul. Now the soul has two coverings. First is the subtle body, and second is the gross body. Now can anyone tell me what is there in gross body? What we see is gross body. Physical body is gross body. Something which is more subtle, which you can't see. Mind, intelligence and false ego. Right? I'll give you, so let's go back to Bhagavad Gita. Now don't listen to me, listen to Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna says. Right? So you can repeat after me. Bhumi Rapona Lovayu Kammano Buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna Prakriti Rashtaja. Can someone read that? Translation?
Word, fire, air, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these eight constitute my separated material energies.
Right. So, Krishna is telling these are all my separated energies. This is what? So, soul has a covering. Our soul is covered by two covers. One is subtle body, one is the gross body which we see. So, the two coverings, let's go into that. The gross body and the subtle body. So, what comes under the gross body? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Now in subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego. Right? So earth, so when you go back to the Bhagavad Gita shloka, Bhumi is earth. Analo is water. Bhumi is Apor. Apor is water. Anlo is fire. Vayu is air. Kham is ether. And then Mana is mind. Intelligence is Buddhi. Ahankara is false ego. Right? So Krishna actually tells us what all constitutes, right, our body. Now, if you talk about mind, so this is one biggest problem that we have faced. When there was a survey done and the World Health Organization said the greatest problem right now in this age is only because of mind. 90% of the problem. Right? Who all have mood swings here? I have. Who all have mood swings? Mood swings. Some of us don't have it. Very, very elevated people. Who all have uncontrolled thoughts? Everyone has. Right, we all agree to that, right? So even this mind is so difficult to control. Can you hear me now? Is that? So the mind is so difficult to control. We have mood swings. We have uncontrolled thoughts when we want to focus on something, but we can't focus on that. So the same thing, same situation even Arjuna faced. So Arjuna is also telling Krishna that mana, chanchala hi mana Krishna, mind is always flickering. Right? Pramami dhruda balavat dhruda. So it is so obstinate, so tough to control. Right? So Arjuna itself is telling, it's just like the wind he says. The wind is difficult to control, same way, the mind is also difficult to control. So what does Krishna say to them? The next sloka Krishna says, Abhyasena Kaunteya. He says, you can control it by practice. Abhyasa. So it is not something that you listen to me today, and by evening today you can control your mind. Right? That is practically not possible. So this takes years of practice. You can incorporate spiritual like mantra meditation or reading the Bhagavad Gita on a daily basis. And when you talk about mind, how does mind work? Mind actually works on likes and dislikes. And when you talk about intelligence, intelligence is something that works on what is right, what is wrong. And false ego, I don't need to explain that what is false ego, ahankara. So even I'll give you a small example. For example, there's a diabetic person, chronic diabetic person, and he goes to this particular wedding. And wedding, there's a huge buffet spread. So you know how weddings are, right? Bad Indian weddings, you know, there is a lot of buffet spread and a lot of items to eat. And this particular person is a diabetic. So he takes all the things in his plate and he reaches the last counter. The last few counters are full of desserts. And he sees the gulab jamun, right? Right, the soft, juicy gulab jamun floating on the golden liquid. So he wants to eat it. So he sees the gulab jamun. His mind says, "You like it. Why don't you eat it?" But there's another voice in the head, back of the head, which is intelligent, which tell you, "Abhi ye khayega, to hospital jayega." Lekin mind is constantly telling, forget about hospital, we'll see that later. You like it, you eat it. Lekin intelligence is telling, if you eat it, you will be in trouble. Remember what the doctor said. So when we see, in our daily life also, when we have come into this situation, we have two voices always there. Now we know where the voices are coming from, right? One is, mind works on based on likes and dislikes. Intelligence works on right and wrong. So that's the reason we say Bhagavad Gita is very scientific. It tells you where are these thoughts coming from, where are these things coming from, right? I'm sure we all have faced this in our life when we have two voices coming back of our head and we don't know what to decide. But there are two things always coming, right? And false ego is ahankara. False ego is something that tells us that we are the body and nothing else. It doesn't help us, takes us beyond that. I'll actually get into more details at future sessions when it comes to false ego. Now we all know we spoke about this outer body, there is this subtle body and the gross body. The gross body is the Pancha Mahabhuta. The subtle body, we know, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So there is something that is there that we are always speaking about is the soul. Where does soul come into picture? Krishna says this. You can all repeat after me. Apareyam itastav anyam prakritim vidime param jivabhutam mahabhavo yedam dharyate jagat someone read the translation, please?
Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material universe.
Okay. So after Krishna says about the 8 different energies, which he spoke about, the 5 gross body materials and the 3 materials in the subtle body, he says, apart from this, there is superior energy of mind, which comprises of all the living entities, whichever is living, right? And those are actually exploiting the resources of the material. So material body is this. Material body is a gross body plus the subtle body, right? So he says there is soul, right? Now I'll give you. So this picture is very famous. You would have actually seen it even if you open any of the Bhagavad Gita books. This picture is very famous. You will actually get an understanding as to how mind, intelligence, soul, body, everything works from this picture itself. I'll tell you how. Now, you have to take this entire chariot as your body. So those 5 horses are your 5 senses. Can you tell me what are the 5 senses? Tongue. So those are the 5 senses depicted by 5 horses. Now the reins, the bridle, is the mind. And the person holding that is the intelligence. And the person sitting on the chariot is yourself, is the soul. Now, what will happen if the person with the intelligence is not very strong, who's holding the reins? So what will happen? The horse will go hither and thither. If the intelligence is not strong, the horse will go hither and thither. That's the reason we have so many thoughts. We want to do so many other things, right? We have no control over our thoughts. Our mind is actually making us run here and there. So that is because the intelligence is not strong. Now what if the intelligence is very strong? The reins are held tight. We are in control of the senses. So you can see the flow that Krishna tells you. It is through intelligence we control the mind. And when we control the mind, the senses will work according to us. What if our intelligence is not strong? Then the mind will control us. Then the mind will control us, mind will take over, and the senses will go here and there. See how scientific it is. So easy to understand, right? See, the thing is, we are not able to relate to Bhagavad Gita for various reasons. Because I was never taught by my parents. My parents were never taught by their parents. So it is not their mistake also. Somehow or the other, we have actually lost touch. And that's the reason we see so many cases, no? When we talk about, I think last time we spoke about so many people falling into stress, anxiety and depression. That is normal. If you see in corporate life also, I see so many of my colleagues also. Such a sad state. And we have completely lost touch. And now what we are doing is we are trying to revive it back. By learning the concepts of Bhagavad Gita. So holding the book, reading it, reading the shloka one by one, studying it. And that's when we gather the knowledge. And this knowledge will actually strengthen our intelligence. And when we strengthen our intelligence, we know what is right and what is wrong. If we actually look at, if I go and ask people, every person has an opinion. I believe, what are the other words? According to me, I believe. When you sit for lunch or something with our colleagues or anything, everyone has their opinion, right? But ideally, we should take the right answers from the scriptures, from which is absolute truth. Nothing changes. It's in the same platform. The truth remains same there. So when we when we make our intelligence strong by reading scriptures, we know we can discriminate between the right and wrong. Our intelligence becomes stronger. Just like the Gulab Jamun case I told you, right? If his mind is very weak, intelligence is not strong, he will certainly pick up the Gulab Jamun and eat it. The next day he is in the hospital. But if his intelligence was strong, he'll say, no, you have to control, you can't. Remember the last time you were admitted in the hospital? It will remind you. Right? So that is where we have to actually strengthen our intelligence. And that's the only way to control our mind. Once our mind is controlled, the senses are also in control. Now we dissected the first Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara. We did that exercise of Einstein and Mandela. Remember that, right? Childhood to old age. The different paths where we could find out actually. We actually struggled to find out, I would say. Then Dehinosmi Yata Dehe, we spoke about two concepts here, which is Dehi, which is the soul, and Deha, which is the body. We found out the differentiation. Right? Now we'll do Tata Dehantara Praptir. The soul similarly passes into another body at death. So what Krishna is trying to say is, see, we are living right now, the soul is present, right? We have an identity right now. So the body is constantly changing. Right? I spoke about the 7 to 10 years every time our body is actually changing. But our identity remains the same. Similarly, Krishna says, Tata Dehantara Praptir. Similarly, once you die, what happens? The soul transmigrates to another body. This is called transmigration of the soul. Just like he is giving the analogy Krishna gives also is so nice, no? He gives your body, as your body is changing throughout your entire life, and your one thing constant is your soul, your identity. Right? The soul is always there. Similarly, when you die, your body goes, your gross body completely goes, the soul transfers to another body. Tata Dehantara Praptir. Now, what happens at the time of death? So there is gross body, there is subtle body, and there is soul. What really happens? Now, if you see this presentation, my seniors always used to tell, like, if there is a proper sadhu, like the olden times, if he comes and sees this presentation, he'll get a heart attack. Right? There are so many diagrams and pie charts, and because these are created by engineers itself, right? So there is soul, there is two outer coverings, that is subtle body and the gross body. Now what happens at the time of death? Gross body dies, we lose our body, we get cremated, right? The Panchabhuta is gone. Now what happens? There is a new body. The soul goes with the subtle body. The subtle body comprises of mind, intelligence, all things. So these things carry the soul to the next body. So this is what happens at the time of death. Now this is where the idea of reincarnation comes into picture. Right? So we know a lot of our parents, grandparents talk about reincarnation. A lot of us actually push the thought itself. No, we don't believe in all that. Right? But actually, mystery of reincarnation is very scientific. Now, let us talk about reincarnation. So we spoke about how at the time of death, how the soul actually transmigrates to another body. Right? So, mystery of reincarnation. So Dr. Ian Stevenson is actually very famous. He has studied more than 3,000 cases of reincarnation. He is a professor of psychiatry at West Virginia, USA. Right? He has worked there are a number of books written by Dr. Ian Stevenson. If you go into Amazon also, you can actually pick and read those books. Not just Ian Stevenson, he is one of the most famous personalities because he studied thoroughly and written books on this. And these are some of the cases, 3,000 cases that he has actually documented. He has studied more than that. Okay? So let us actually talk about one of the case studies from Dr. Ian Stevenson himself. I taken the case study of Deep Kabadia here because we can relate to it more. And this particular person has also come to one of the sessions which happened in ISKCON. And when there was a class on reincarnation, he actually spoke about it. Right? So Deep Kapadia, right now he's still there. He's a professor of mathematics in one of the colleges in Mumbai, Borivali. Right? So Deep Kapadia is very famous. So Deep Kapadia is, see what Ian Stevenson does is, Ian Stevenson and his team, they just don't go and talk to any person to try and prove reincarnation works. They also have some kind of parameters. So whenever a small child starts speaking something weird, something different language itself, and he says, no, you are not my parents, and there are a lot of issues there, and that's when the parents actually start contacting these people. And that's when Dr. Ian Stevenson comes along with his crew, and they pose certain questions to find out if it's really valid. Right? Similarly, Deep Kapadia, when he was 3.5 years old, he started speaking in Marwari. Now he's from a Hindi-speaking family. And suddenly, 3.5 years. See, Dr. Ian Stevenson also sees if there is any kind of influence, like influence from TV serials or influence. But 3.5 years, what kind of influence? And studying Marwari at that age is not possible, right? So 3.5 years, he started speaking in Marwari, and he always used to say, I want to go to Udaipur. And that's when the Dr. Ian Stevenson crew came, and they started posing some questions to Deep Kapadia to understand. Where do you want to go? He said, I want to go to Udaipur. Why do you want to go to Udaipur? He said, my home is there. Right? So various questions they asked him, and then finally Ian Stevenson decided that we'll actually go to Udaipur, but won't tell him. They went on a train journey to Udaipur with his family and Dr. Ian Stevenson's crew. And as they were reaching the Udaipur station, just a station before, that kid told the next station is Udaipur. Now you have to just imagine a 3.5-year-old kid is doing this. Once he got down from the station, now this kid is the one who is actually leading the entire pack. He knows how to get out of the station, he knows where to walk, he climbs the bridge, he goes to certain shops, he says hi to certain tangawalas there. This happened, I think, in 1984. This was a big case. 1984, it was actually published in the newspaper also. And then directly he takes them to his house. And when he knocks on the door and there is an elderly person who opens the door, this guy goes and embraces him, tells, how are you doing, my son? Now the entire crew is taken aback. And more than that, the person who was embraced, he is shocked. ये क्या हो रहा है? Right? And they start telling this is that and this kid is telling so and so. Now he has got some doubts now. So he says, see, I think these people, this kid and their family wants to take my property, which is inherited by me. That's why they are playing this game. So he says, I'll ask him some questions which only me and my father knew. So in his previous life, this kid Deep Kapadia was Pannalal Agarwal. That was that old elderly man's father. So he says, I'll ask you some questions only me and my father knew. If you can answer, then I'll agree. So he asked him, my father used to keep some rifles. Do you know where he used to keep? So the kid actually takes him to the first floor and moves a photo, and there's a small door. He opens that door, and that's where the rifle is kept. And there are various questions that this particular person asked him, and he answered it in a correct way. Now, why rifle in the sense? Because Pannalal Agarwal was the security officer in Udaipur Museum. That's where he used to work. And again, there were a lot of things that he asked, and Deep Kapadia kept on answering. And then they went to the museum also, where he used to work. There he knew so many things that only he and few other people knew. He also spoke about kerosene fans, 3.5-year-old. And he knew how to work those kerosene. Nowadays kids, we all know to press the button and turn on the fan, right? 3.5-year-old kid knows how to use kerosene and turn on the fan. Right? So these were all the things. Now, you have to understand what was the missing link here. We spoke about how after death, how the soul moves from the old body to the new body. So in this, what was the missing link? We're talking about Pannalal who was living in Udaipur, and there is Deep Kapadia who was born in Mumbai. So what was the missing link? It's the soul. That was this missing link. See, now soul carries certain memories from the past. It doesn't happen to everyone. We may have some kind of thoughts, but these are people who had a lot of memories in fact. Now we'll come to that as to why these people have, certain people have a lot of memories when it comes to their past lives, and some of us don't have at all. So it is not very easy to actually remember our past life, forget past life. We can't remember certain things from our when we were kids also, unless we were too attached to it, unless we had some kind of in a situation where it stuck to our head. That you probably, if I ask you, you will probably remember, yes, that time of the day when my ma'am had actually caught me because I didn't do my homework and she hit me very badly. That is there in our head. Certain things we will remember, but everything we won't remember. So when it comes to Deep Kapadia, he remembered everything about his past life. Okay? So that's when, see, even the body, when it's cremated, that's so scientific, no? When the body is cremated, the gross body is gone. The soul is taken by the subtle body, which is called the mind, intelligence, and false ego. And our memories are stored in mind and intelligence. Right? That's where our thoughts come. The past life memories come. Now, another thing you can have, there are hundreds of books actually, if you actually go into any bookstore or even the online e-commerce sites, you'll have hundreds of books regarding reincarnation. Now, another thing is, phobia, right? A lot of people have phobias. Even if you go to a small kid, some of them have phobias, they don't have any kind of experience regarding that. I had a phobia from childhood itself, a phobia of height. And I never experienced anything of falling from a certain height or anything. Everyone has certain kind of phobias. Someone is scared of snakes, there was a lady who was scared to travel, to get down in the lift also. Because it was closed areas, she used to feel claustrophobic. Right? So there are so many phobias also that have been carried, the samskaras have been carried from the past life. There is no reasoning, these are not based on experience. I experience certain thing and then I am telling. These are something prior to the experience. Right? So these phobias that I am talking, there are certain phobias which are based on experience, I agree to that. But there are phobias which are prior to the experience also. Right? Now, we spoke about reincarnation. Now there is something called as near-death experience also. Okay. Has anyone ever heard about near-death experience? Yes, I'm sure most of us would have heard about it. So near-death experience is where there was this particular lady. I'm just picking up certain case studies which is easier to understand. There are a number of them. This particular lady, she met with an accident and she was not treated in that particular state. She went to some state in US itself, a neighboring state, and because there was better medication and medical facilities. And she was treated there, and the dosage of anesthesia went a little high. And when that happened, the ECG, right, it normally fluctuates if you're clean, that went on almost a straight line. So that's when the doctor declared her clinically dead. Right? So clinically dead. And they were performing their operation on that particular lady. So at that point of time, once the operation was done, so that's when the lady comes into consciousness, and she says, your terrace is little dirty near the water tank, and someone has left a shoe next to the water tank, and from the terrace I could see an oak tree also. Right? So now the doctors were astonished as to how does she know, because she was lying here, right? And she was clinically declared dead. There was no movement in terms of pulse or anything of that sort. Now these are called near-death experiences, where we actually start perceiving things beyond our body. Right? Now this is Michael Sapone. He was actually one of the person who was there in that hospital. So he has documented this. And not just this, he has documented various other 200 more cases similar to this. And it's not just US or anything else, it is throughout globally. Right? So I'll play a small video
In Germany, Christina's doctors are also losing their battle. Her heart will not restart. She has just minutes before her brain too shuts down.
Ist nur ein Defibrillationsschlag.
We were trying to jumpstart her heart with a defibrillator.
Schlagen zu bringen. Gleichzeitig
We gave her several drugs.
Medikamente. Der Patientin hatte zu viel
The
Blut.
patient had lost too much blood. Her organs weren't getting enough.
Kein Mensch und ich am wenigsten.
We really didn't think we could save her. Because Christina's heart has stopped pumping, many would consider her dead. Yet something seems to be happening with her mind.
Das nächste, was ich wieder weiß, ist, ja, dass ich wohl unter der
Next thing I know, I was hovering underneath the ceiling of the room. I could see down on myself laying on the operating table. And I saw the surgeons and heard them talking to each other. The scenario was pretty hectic. I realized that this was about life or death.
To help understand near-death experiences, some researchers focus on the content of these episodes.
A common element that occurs early in near-death experiences is what's called a out-of-body experience. At that time, the person seems to be able to see and hear things going on, but up from the vantage point above their body.
So from this video, it is more like an out-of-body experience. Right? A particular lady, while she was getting operated, she said that she was hovering on the real ceiling. And she could actually see the entire operation that is happening. There was one of the cases where actually the lady once the operation was done, she said that, see, during operation you should not talk about some match or something. Right? So imagine, these kind of experience people have gone through, near-death experience, out-of-body experiences, and we also spoke about reincarnation. Now, so we dissected this entire shloka. No? Dhiras tatra namuyati. The person who understands this concept is not bewildered. He knows what happens after death. See, we are so attached to our body, right? So most of our life, if we even see our daily life or any kind of situation that we face, anyone says anything about us, we are really sensitive, we feel sad. Like, look at your attire. Someone says, look at your, what kind of clothes are you wearing? अरे उसने ऐसे कैसे बोला? Right? ये कपड़े के बारे में, hair style के बारे में, right? So these are certain things that affect us. Now this is because we are still in the bodily concept of it. We think this is all in all, right? The Bhagavad Gita actually says what differentiates what is temporary and what is permanent. The gross body is temporary. What is permanent? Is the soul. Now what happens at the time of death? Transmigrate. So what goes? When death happens, what goes? Soul goes with subtle body. Subtle body comprises of? Very good, very good. So actually Bhagavad Gita will actually teach us to be equipoised in all situations in our life. Right? See, I will not tell you that I'll be there throughout if you face any kind of difficulties in your life. That I'll be available to get few questions answered. I'll try my best. But this session is all about to help you understand yourself better. Right? So when you read the scriptures, you will have a better understanding as to what you are. And it will help you deal with the daily issues of life as well. It will help you question. So that is very important, right? Introspecting, questioning, right? Finding out answers. Even in Veda Sutra it says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now that you have got your human body, inquire. Right? We are not like animals. We have superior intelligence, and that is given for a reason. And that is to inquire. Inquire the existence. Who are we? Who is God? What is my relationship with God? Why am I suffering when I don't want to suffer? So these are some of the existential questions that you should have. And these are the questions that will be easily answered by Bhagavad Gita. So I'm sure you would have heard this. This is a very famous quote. It says, we are not human beings with spiritual experience, but spiritual beings with human experience. Right? Most of us actually think this is all in all, there's one life, one body, and we start doing various activities. But there are repercussions. Right? So that's the reason we say that Bhagavad Gita is a life manual for us to read and incorporate and implement. So within this, the second chapter onwards, Krishna says that we are spiritual beings, right, with a human body. Now, even when you actually look into taking people on, acting in a spiritual platform and not a godly platform, it actually helps a lot in a lot of ways. Like, there is, even if you see, there is a lot of racism and all that has been happening in the world, right? It's all due to bodily concepts of life. When you come to a certain platform, that is the spiritual platform, we'll act accordingly. We will not act according to the bodily platform. So that's where actually Bhagavad Gita comes into picture and helps us. Not just us, everyone who reads, it helps them. Right? So there is universal brotherhood. You can rise above inferiority complex. You can have a positive outlook and attitude to life, and the right use of resources. That is, instead of being selfish, we start helping others. Right? We start understanding that everyone is a spiritual being. Right? A practical tip. Now the first chapter, we understood about the different kinds of needs. Physical need, emotional need, psychological need and spiritual need. Now I'll ask you to map it, okay? So one of the projects are Janmashtami which happened here. If you have reached a stall where there was a cage kept and there was a bird, most of the people would have thought it is something for the kids to play. But it had a deeper meaning. Just like, there's an analogy where we actually take care of the cage nicely, the golden cage. Every day we are taking good care of it by washing it, cleaning it, keeping it nice. And there's a bird inside who is doing chow all the time, but we are not giving any importance to it. The same thing is happening to us as well. We are taking care of this body so nicely, but inside that hollowness is there, which is constantly questioning us, is this all? Is there something beyond this? And we are not even paying attention to it. We are only paying attention to this cage and not the pigeon inside, which is the spirit soul. Right? That is very important. Spiritual need is something that we have lost touch. And see, we are programmed in a certain way. Our previous generations were much better, were more pious. They knew a lot about scriptures, but we don't. And we don't blame anyone, but the problem is we were programmed. Now in the future sessions, I'll tell you how we were programmed. Based our attire, the way we talk, the way we deal with people, our understanding of certain concepts, everything is programmed. Now as the session progresses, right, we will dig deep and understand how that happens. So, just like we feed our body with good food stuff, right? 3 or 4 meals we have a day, right? 1 or 2 meals also we miss, then it's a big problem. Right? So just like that, we have to feed our soul also. We have to give equal importance to spiritual needs as well. The very easy thing that is mentioned for Kali Yuga is mantra meditation. And that's what we do. Now I would suggest that, like we did mantra meditation last time, it was so helpful, right? It was so nice to actually join, everyone come together and do mantra meditation for 10 minutes, right? It is so nice. So similar way, what we need to incorporate is, we need to incorporate whatever we learn from Bhagavad Gita on a daily basis. That's when we see the changes happening in our life. Consistency is very important. Just because I tell you something today, you will be charged today. What happens? You miss out tomorrow. Ab agle Sunday. No, that's not the way. This is when we learn Bhagavad Gita. It's a life manual. We are supposed to implement it on a daily basis. Just like we take bath, just like we brush our teeth. We don't forget all that, right? Similar way, if you actually dedicate 15 to 30 minutes of your life, of your day, 15 to 30 minutes, first 10 minutes do one round of chanting, mantra meditation, read one verse of Bhagavad Gita, hear about it, that's enough. Start your day early. And when you do that on a regular basis, this becomes a part of your life. We will say, we are looking, Prabhu ji, time नहीं है मेरे पास. अरे प्रभु जी सबके पास time है. Right? No, only we make time, we give priority. A priority नहीं दिए, then we will say time नहीं. And we'll keep waiting, and then comes the stage of one thing which is constant, that is death. Right? So this is very important. Now there is something called as Shloka a Day app. I would suggest that you all download that. Shloka, so we can ask any of the devotees here. Shloka a Day app. So in this, our senior devotees, what they have done is, Bhagavad Gita has got 700 shlokas. Each shloka, they have explained it. Each shloka. And it will only take 7 to 10 minutes of your time. Every day you can read, listen to those. While you are traveling in your public transport or traveling by car, you can actually connect to Bluetooth and listen to this. 700 shlokas. Our senior devotees have given their sweat and blood to this. It came to a stage where the senior devotee actually lost his voice also. 4 months. Just because he did this all for all of us, to make it easy for all of us. We're so busy in life, right? So it should be easy for us. Right? In the age of ITEL, in the age of Swiggy and Instamart and all, things should be available like this, snap of a finger. Similarly, so this is Shloka app will actually help you. Yes. I listen to it on a daily basis. If you have time, you can actually, please, I would suggest that Shloka a Day app. Please download it. It's available in Android and your Apple phones as well. So please download it. It's very simple to use.